How important is it to know about where your food comes from?
It's very important. I mean, South Africans are normally very conscious people, but unfortunately at times we look at the price of the item before we buy it. So we buy with our pockets. So it would be great to educate ourselves and to get more information and find out, where it comes from. Because if it comes from local, it means you are supporting a local farmer. But if it's something that comes from the US, that comes from Belgium, that's the farmers that you are supporting, but not the local guy. It might look expensive, but when you go deep, you'll see that the impact it has on the environment, on water, then you'll see that it's actually much more expensive to buy something that comes from outside than the local one.
What kind of impact does buying locally have on water?
Well, there's no water transportation. I mean, even if we were to transport the goods themselves from outside to South Africa, and it's a very good question in a sense that I do not have a specific answer for it or the volumes of water that are involved in shipping, but of course there is an impact. Yeah. And locally then you'd also note that because we're experiencing this drought, let me make an example of tomatoes. We all know Z22, for example. It's based in Limpopo, and they are specializing in tomatoes. Really, there's no need for Cape Townians to be eating the tomatoes from Limpopo, whilst we might have farmers who are producing tomatoes here, of course, depending on the climate as well and the area. But yes, definitely, if you buy local, not only on water, but the environmental impact itself, the transportation, carbon dioxide and so on, it's much more limited when you buy local compared to when you source from outside.
Tell me about the reception you've had to Green Monday. Green Monday was launched earlier this year in South Africa. Are South Africans getting on board? Do they understand what Green Monday is all about?
I would rather say later this year, because we launched on the 12th of October. And I'm glad to say we probably have more than 10 celebrities that have come on board, and you can imagine when they tweet about it, on Mondays, the following that and the excitement that they get. What we've noticed is that people want to try new things. It's not about targeting a particular food commodity, but it's all about saying, hey, plant-based meals, can they really be fun? Because when I say green, you're thinking spinach, you're thinking cabbage, and you're thinking, no, not for me. But interestingly enough, there's a project that is coming up next year, 2016, and we'll be having cooking demonstration, and we'll have celebrity chefs coming on board in communities, local communities, townships, teaching women how to cook with what they have, but making the food nice, delicious, and beautiful.
Do you find that people think it's quite limiting? They find they can't get enough nutrients and their protein from only eating a plant-based diet?
That's the perception. I won't shy away from it. That's what people think. But if you were to investigate and you look deeply into it, can I make an example? We're using soya milk at home. Then the conversation we had with my wife is that there's less calcium. And indeed, in those ones that we were seeing, there was less calcium. But the one that we've switched to, it's equivalent to the dairy milk. And then we're happy with that, because now it's not an excuse. It used to be an excuse to say there's less calcium there, where will we get it? But in other words, when I say investigate and find more information, what is the required daily intake of your protein? Now, if you find that it's 90 milligrams, I'm just making throwing out a figure there, and then you find that if you eat your nuts and you eat this and you eat that and your seeds here and there, you find out that you do meet that require daily intake. So there is a perception, but definitely with this Green Monday, people are starting to think differently now. The more they know and the more they want to try out recipes. We have more than 35 recipes on www.greenmonday.co.za. So every Monday someone wants to try a new thing, and it's very fun, it's flexible, it's easy to do.